Hello Internet. Right, I should be working right now, but I've decided to have a little break and play some Tetris instead. So before I actually start playing, what you're watching right now is just the demo, the default demo that the NES goes into when you load Tetris and you don't press start. So this is not me playing, this is the NES playing itself. I thought I would say something about the purpose of this this stream, and let's say this channel if I upload these streams on YouTube. I used to play Tetris when I was about 14 on a Nintendo Game Boy, and then I had a break for a whole load of years, and recently I bought a NES with Tetris just to play Tetris, after being inspired by watching some YouTube videos about the Tetris worldwide competitions and various YouTubers who have talked about Tetris, various world-class players that have shown their own games. And I thought, yeah, okay, let's get back into Tetris. So at first I bought a Game Boy Pocket and started playing Tetris on that again, and it was great fun. And then I thought, not only does the NES version seem super popular, but also perhaps it's even a bit better. I think there are an extra couple of lines on the screen, so you don't top out quite so soon. And the DAS shifting left and right is a bit faster than on the Game Boy. For those who aren't accustomed to those terms, DAS is delayed auto shift. When you hold down left or right, there's a little delay before the shape starts to move, and then after that delay it moves pretty quickly. On the Game Boy, after the initial delay, it's still pretty slow moving left and right. You can easily tap the button faster than the game will move it, whereas on the NES it moves really very fast. It's still technically possible to tap left and right faster than the game can move it for you, and the people who can do that are known as hyper tappers. I'm not one of them, but the NES's built-in ability to shift left and right is pretty fast, so you don't have to be a hyper tapper. Indeed, I believe one of the world champions for a number of years did not use hyper tapping and still managed to be number one, so it's kind of good if you can, but not essential. So I haven't actually started playing yet. I've been rambling. So part of the purpose of this, let's say this channel, this stream, is to show people what it's like when you go from having some limited experience of Tetris after practicing to see how much better you can get, or how much better I can get at least. So right now, as will be obvious when I start playing, I am not a world-class Tetris player or anything close to it, and I hope that in the next few weeks or months, possibly years, I will get a bit better. So push start. Okay, I'm going to select music off because it's nice, the music on the NES, but of course it loops, and after a few loops it starts to get a little bit infuriating. So I'm going to start on level 9, which is the fastest level you can select on the normal menu. Actually, if you hold down the A button, it adds another 10 levels, so 1 becomes 11, 12, 2 becomes 12, etc, etc. This is the PAL version of Tetris on the NES, and as you will discover if you Google these things, the PAL and the NTSC versions are pretty different. Level 15 on the PAL version is the same as level 18 on the NES, I believe. Level 19 on the NES is the same as level 16, 17 and 18 on the PAL version. Level 19 on the PAL version is the kill screen, which is equivalent to level 29 on the NTSC version. I think I've got all that right. So I'm going to start on level 9, and if you've never played Tetris before, or if you've played it only a little bit, then this seems pretty fast and pretty difficult. But if you've played somewhat, then this is not as hard as all that. Still, you've got limited time to think. If you're a bit tired, level 9 is still a little bit of a challenge, but and I am quite tired right now. So we will see. So this is actually me playing, in case you hadn't worked that out. And One of the things about Tetris is because shapes fall and you have to make a decision about where you're going to put them, something that often happens is you realise you made a mistake just a split second after you make it, and you realise what the better move would have been, but of course by then it's too late. You're committed, and I suppose part of Tetris is dealing with the psychology of that, of not getting too disheartened when you make a move that you realise immediately afterwards was a bad one. Those Z-shaped pieces are horrible. Very often you can find yourself in a situation where any other piece will do, but you don't want that, and of course Sod's law means that that's what you get. But oh dear, see, I should have put that on the right. But Tetris is like life, you have to deal with what's given to you, and deal with what's given to you. Oh dear, so I can put that there, get rid of one line, but I'm now committed to either waiting for another long piece or doing what I'm going to do now and say, screw it. Oh dear, I should have waited. But that's the thing, hindsight is always 20/20. There's something strangely, I don't know, therapeutic about Tetris. It's hard to say exactly what it is. I suppose because it's its own world, it has its own rules, it's entirely detached from everything else with which you might be concerned in life. And yeah, there's something soothing. I suppose people with OCD will get a particular kick out of seeing things neatly slotting together in the correct places. But even for normal human beings without disorders, it's still, well, it must be pretty satisfying and even addictive, because I believe Tetris is the third best-selling computer game or video game of all time. By the way, considering I suppose Twitch viewers can be from anywhere in the world, it's worth mentioning that most Europeans tend to say computer games, most Americans tend to say video games, but you could argue there is a technical difference. Computer games are played on computers, video games are played on either computers or consoles. Consoles tended to be more popular in the States in the 80s and 90s, whereas home computers, microcomputers, tended to be more popular in Europe. But now, I suppose that's no longer the case. Consoles are ubiquitous. There is still a hardcore of PC gamers, but they can be found in the States and in Europe. Personally, generally speaking, I prefer PC gaming than console gaming, but Tetris is a game which is extremely simple in terms of the controls. A D-pad and a pair of buttons are all you need, so I don't feel I'm missing out on anything by playing Tetris on a console. It's kind of really what it's designed for, I suppose. When it comes to third-person shooters or first-person shooters on a computer, I prefer using a mouse. So I'm a PC gamer when it comes to stuff like Battlefield and those games. But with Tetris, I suppose I could play with a joystick or a gamepad, as I'm doing now. And I'm fine either way. I'm becoming hypnotised by the sight of these shapes as I'm playing Tetris. So if I sound as though I'm talking in a kind of floaty, mystical way, it's not because I'm any kind of guru or have pretensions to be one. It is because I'm being hypnotised by the game I'm playing. There you go. That's a Tetris, which is to say getting rid of 4 lines at the same time, which will be an extremely obvious thing to people that know something about Tetris, but assuming someone may watch this stream who doesn't know anything about it, there you go, you just learned something. there are different strategies, of course, as with most games. One of the top players in the world, who was world champion for a while, Jonas, I think is his name, was saying that it's a good idea if you can create a kind of sloping structure. So you have the well, which is to say the gap, waiting for one long piece to get a Tetris that I just did, and you should have that on the right, and I'll explain why in a moment. But this guy said that there's something good about let's say you have the well on the right, about sloping from left to right down to the well. And the reason for that is that when you need to chip away some lines to avoid topping out at the top of the screen, it's easier to do that if you have that sloping structure. As for the reason why you want the well at the right, well, it's because, and again, this is something that regular Tetris players will know, but I will point out for those who may not know, having the well on the right is good because when a long bar appears, which I just got there, when that appears at the top of the screen, when you rotate it, because it is one piece wide and the screen has an even number of pieces left to right, the console has to decide whether it's going to bias it slightly to the left or slightly to the right, and it biases it slightly to the right, which means that it's easier to move those long bars to the far right of the screen than the far left, and for that reason people tend to create a well on the far right, or at least that's the good advice. Now, as you can see, I'm not always doing that myself, and the reason for that isn't purely choice. It is more that there are times when you are forced to either abandon your strategy of having the well on the right, or slot a piece down into a place where you create gaps, as I just did there. And I'm not expert enough really to know about exactly the best way to deal with those situations. That's my automatic air freshener making a squeaky sound. I don't know if the mic will pick that up, but if it did, and anyone wonders what it was, then now you know. So, as you can see, there's that well on the right, and I'm just not getting the shapes that I want in order to stack how I really want. So you can see it's now gone up to level 10, which is a bit faster, but still not that fast. So professional Tetris players would not consider this speed to be anything difficult at all. They would simply carry on playing as if nothing really had changed. But I am not a professional Tetris player, so I get a sudden squirt of adrenaline when this occurs. But there you go. So I have what is a piece called a piece dependency on the left, which is to say there was only one kind of piece that would fit there without leaving gaps. So a general strategy in Tetris is to not leave yourself with piece dependencies, so you can be flexible, because you never know what pieces you're going to get. You can see in the next indicator what piece you'll get next, but obviously after that it's a mystery, and it's down to random chance. There's a random number generator that determines what piece you will get, and on this version of Tetris it is truly random. On later versions of Tetris, apparently, there is something called a 7-bag random generator, which is to say in any sequence of 7 pieces you're guaranteed to get one of each, but the thing you don't know is at which point each will appear in that sequence. Whereas this version of Tetris is truly random, which is to say you could get the same piece twice or 3 times, you could get none of a particular piece for a run of 20, and then 3 of them, or any combination you can imagine. Apparently, oh my god, that was terrible. Apparently, if a piece appears and then the same piece appears again afterwards, the game does another random roll to make it less likely that you'll get 2 identical pieces consecutively. But it's still possible. If it, for example, randomly generates a long bar, 1 drop, and then randomly generates another one. The next drop it will oops, that was a mistake. It will roll again, and then if it rolls a long bar again, it will actually give you that long bar. So it can happen. As you will see, the game is now going pretty fast. It's sort of on my limit, I suppose, for how I can deal with this, at least, and talk at the same time. Oh, just about got that there. So what I'm doing now is basically just trying to get myself out of a bad situation. And I'm not too optimistic. I think you're going to see the end of this game pretty soon. But that's what it looks like when someone who used to be averagely good at Tetris, or a little bit better than average on a Game Boy, comes back decades later and tries to be good at Tetris on an NES. It's not particularly impressive. That's a score of about just under 200,000. I believe the world record on this version of Tetris, the PAL version, is about 700 and something thousand. So I'm not even a third of the way to the world record there. But I won't cry about that. Let's enter something there. What shall I call myself? K-A-R. Yeah, so that's Tetris. If anyone's thinking of getting into Tetris on the NES, then there are emulators, but for competition you will be playing on a actual Nintendo Entertainment System and with a CRT monitor. For those who don't know about the technical details of that, well, CRT is recommended because the input lag is much lower than using LCD displays, which is to say the delay between between the console outputting an image and that image appearing on your screen. The lag is a few milliseconds with LCD, and it is a bit less with a CRT screen. Oh dear. I was waiting for a long bar and I gave up waiting, and then it appeared, which is such a sort of Tetris thing. That happens. The game just loves to do that to you. It tests your patience, and when your patience runs out, it gives you the thing you'd been waiting for. So, level 14 for me is pretty fast, but for a pro is not. Oh dear. Come on, game. So this is known as a drought, when you have an uncomfortably long run without the kind of piece that you want. And part of improving at Tetris is dealing with droughts. And I am trying to improve at Tetris, so the frustration of getting droughts is something I should try and see as an opportunity to learn and improve. But it can be hard to be that philosophical when you want to win and the game thwarts your efforts. Oh my god. Like it's doing right now. I don't know whether I should focus on playing or talking, or a mixture. I'm probably talking quite a lot by most people's standards. But I presume that people who watch streams are not always hardcore gamers that want to just see the game. Probably a few people want to hear someone talking. So if you're in that group, then good. If you're not in that group and you just want to see the game and I'm annoying the hell out of you by talking, then I'm very sorry. Please accept my deepest apologies. And oh my god, come on game, don't do this to me. Yeah. Tetris is a particularly bad game to play if you're tired, because that delay in telling your body what to do and your body acting on that and doing it is enough to make you lose over and over and over again. But maybe I'm just trying to make excuses for myself there. I don't know. Oh yes, that little gap is over there. Oh my god, why is it so hard? Okay, well I think this game will be over quite soon. But yeah. So this is my this is my introductory rambling stream. Now I'm not only too tired to work, but I'm too tired to play Tetris, so I suppose I will end the stream in the next few seconds. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in and watched this. If you knew nothing about Tetris before, I hope you found it in some way useful. If you knew a lot about Tetris before, then I hope it hasn't been too annoying being told things you already knew. I suppose till the next time, till we meet again, stay safe, have fun. Bye.